Good evening and welcome back to Callan Chatter TV. I'm your host for tonight's show, G Talks Arsenal. Tonight we will be doing our final show of Three Lions Road to Wembley. In the first half of the show and in the second half of the show, we'll be doing episode 8 of the Rumour Mill. Now, before we get started, not the show that many of us wanted to do, and that's probably why it's taken a while for this show to actually happen. You know, I think most of us expected us to have a live on Monday, but I just think with all the emotions of Sunday night, and obviously the emotions surrounding the fallout as well, which we'll discuss later on in the show, I think, you know, having some time to breathe, having some times to kind of really reflect on the match and what's happened since. It's probably been quite wise. So yeah, we will get stuck into it in tonight's show. We will talk everything England. We'll kind of recap the tournament. And then we'll move over to the second half of the show where we'll talk about Arsenal. Funny how we've all got our Arsenal talk on tonight. But yeah, what I'm going to do first of all is do some introductions. So we're joined tonight. You know, we're really lucky to always have, you know, really special guests, familiar faces. And tonight I'm going to start with Charlie first, because it's the first time you're appearing on Callan Chatter TV. How are you, Charlie?
I'm good, thank you. How are you? Thank you for having me on.
I'm good. I'm a bit subdued, as you can tell. Obviously, the conversations we've had, you know, kind of before we've gone live, I think none of us are as, you know, people might say gassed or excited as we probably would have been had we won the Euros. But nevertheless, we're here. You know, we committed to doing the shows all the way to the end. So yeah, I'm okay. I'm a lot better than I was on Sunday or even Monday morning. But yeah, good to have you with us, Charlie.
Thank you.
No problem. A regular face, or it feels like a regular face these days. Keith, how you doing, Keith? I think there's a bit of a lag, but you with us?
It's definitely lagging.
Yeah, I think there's a bit of a lag going on here with Keith.
Lag switch.
Yeah. I'll move on. I'll move.
Marginally better than I was, as you just said.
There we go.
Still lagging. I'm good. Thank you very much for having me back on again.
No problem at all. I know there's a bit of a lag, but we're gonna work with it. We're gonna work with it. No problem. And obviously, you know, the ever-present Lottie, my co-host, throughout this whole tournament, throughout this whole, you know, all of these shows. Lottie, how are you feeling at this point? How are you feeling just generally today before we get into the match?
Do you know what? After the day I had, that's not the question I want to hear. Yeah, no, I'm all right. I mean, a lot of people who subscribe to the channel, they've seen what I thought and my reaction to the game. It's all a bit very much raw, and it still is. But other than that, I'm good. I'm getting on with it. You know, smiling as always.
I hear you. And we'll just go through a couple of comments before we kind of get started. So, good evening, Gary. Hey, G. We've also got here, I'll have one evening to everyone.
Evening, G.
Not just Charlie.
Evening, G.
And also Liam, good evening all. So, you know what, at this point, obviously, we've kind of got a gauge of the mood. I don't think any of us are, you know, like I say, as jubilant as we wanted to be, but nevertheless, we're going to go through the match. We're going to start right at the beginning. We're going to talk lineups, match incidents, obviously the fallout, and then we'll go through a little bit about memories and kind of players of the tournament. So before we get started, excuse me, as you can tell, my voice is recovering, but still is a bit on the rough side. I'm going to literally select the intro video, and then we'll see you on the other side, guys.
Arsenal have gone through an entire league campaign without losing. The first time it's
So yes, those of you who are joining us, wherever you're watching from around the world, hope you guys are having a good evening. We've done introductions. We've kind of got a gauge of how everyone's feeling. And now we're going to get into it. we're going to start right at the beginning, as we always do. Obviously, there was huge excitement, huge anticipation leading up to Sunday's final against the Italians. And usually, about an hour or so before the actual kickoff to the match, the team news does come out. And just to kind of go through the team news. So we had Pickford in goal. We had a back five of Trippier, Shaw, wing backs, Maguire, Stones and Walker at the back, Rice and Phillips in the middle, and then we had Mount, Sterling and Kane. Now, I don't know about you guys, but as the tournament went on, I pretty much became a lot more relaxed with regards the announcing of the lineups and so forth. I know we've lost Keith. That's probably because of the lag. If he does join, we'll get him back on. But I'm going to start with you first, Charlie. Obviously, because it's your first time on Callan Chatter TV. Did you have any kind of opinion either way with regards how we set up and the personnel that Southgate put out for this match?
So basically, I kind of knew that he'd go to a back five because when we played against Germany in the earlier round, he matched their formation because they had players that were either as good as us or better.
Yeah.
And if you look at our running in the tournament, we didn't play anyone like significant other than Germany on our run to the final. Because against Ukraine, he went back to a back four, and then against Denmark, he went back to a back four. So it was no surprise to me that he went to a back five. But at the same time, that meant that our little man Saka got dropped out of the starting lineup for Trippier, which was a bit like, but then when obviously we started the game and we scored after 2 minutes, it almost looked like an amazing decision from Southgate. But as far as the lineup goes, I didn't really have any problems with it, other than I would like to have seen Grealish start instead of Mount, because I think Mount's been fairly non-existent in the last couple of games.
Okay. So you kind of predicted the setup. He was probably a little bit disappointed, I think, like all of us, to see Saka drop to the bench, and a bit questionable in terms of Mount selection in kind of a summary. I think that's a pretty spot on summary, I think, for a lot of us. Keith, I don't know if you got hello. I don't think there's a lag now. I think you heard me loud and clear there.
Yeah.
The lag switch is gone.
Yeah. Did you
Here we go.
Do you want me to share the lineup again, or are you happy to kind of just give your thoughts?
I'll jump straight in, mate.
No worries. What were your thoughts about the lineup then?
I wasn't massively upset. I agree largely with what Charlie was saying about. I wasn't hugely impressed with Mount, but I can see why he didn't pick Grealish, because he don't seem to trust him defensively, and he's looking at him more as an impact player. I was pretty gutted Bukayo wasn't starting, but then I thought, well, I've been banging on all through the tournament about us all supporting the team collectively, regardless of team colours. And I kind of had to think, I can see why he's not picked him, because they're so strong defensively, and he may not have had a huge impact if he started the game, whereas coming on when their legs are tired, I think he was bound to have a much, much bigger impact. But other than that, I wasn't massively surprised. I wasn't really that upset about it, to be honest. I thought it looked all right. It looked quite solid. I think it was always going to go to the back three / back five. But yeah, I can't really fault him. He's got us to a final at the end of the day. I'm not going to slate him too much for his selection. I thought it was okay.
No worries. And Lottie, finally to you. Obviously, I know the guys have kind of shared their opinions on the lineup. How were you feeling? Obviously, when the lineup was kind of announced before the kickoff.
As I've learnt from sort of Albert JTV, I've got to the point where I'm not wasting my energy on the lineups. When it came to Southgate, I can't do it. I can do it with an Arsenal lineup. That's easy peasy, because there's all players. We disagree being there, but it was a case of learning to trust Southgate again, and I was quite happy with it. I wasn't quite too pleased with Mount. He was a bit non-existent, really. If I'm honest with you, and I thought, okay, this is going to be interesting seeing there, because I don't really watch Chelsea, if I'm honest, but I've only really seen him play for England. So unless he's playing against us, he was non-existent when he played against us. So I wasn't too impressed with him.
Okay, so yeah, for me, you know what, I can kind of echo, you know, everything that you guys have said really with regards to the lineup. I was very much in the headspace of, look, we were in the final, and I think at that point, I think, you know, the way I was buzzing for the game is that I think even if he had thrown a complete curveball and put just a random lineup, I think I was so excited about the game. I'm not even sure I would have been that bothered at that point. Because, you know, kind of like what Keith said, I was very much, as the tournament progressed, my trust in Southgate improved and got a lot more stronger as the tournament went on. And I thought, we've got to the final, he's going to pick a team that he trusts that's going to potentially put on a performance. So I kind of mentally told myself, regardless of what lineup, in terms of formation, in terms of personnel, I'm just going to kind of take it as a pinch of salt, and I'm going to just enjoy the game. But I definitely echo kind of what you said, Charlie, in that I was disappointed that Saka didn't start. And I know me and you, Lottie, we had that conversation, but we both chose to not be kind of public with our opinion. We just kind of took it on the chin and thought, okay, well, you know what, let's see what the lads that he's put out there, let's see what they can do. And similarly, what you said, Charlie, I've not massively been impressed with Mount. I think he's had moments where he's looked like he could almost do something great, and it's not quite worked out for him. But yeah, on the whole, I wasn't, you know, I was just kind of, yeah, okay, this is the lineup. Let's back the boys. Let's see if we can get the result, and you know, we keep it moving. So obviously the game started, and I don't think any of us had time to even probably crack open, you know, the new beer that, you know, after downing the last beer or drinking the last brandy that we'd been drinking probably pre-game. I don't think any of us had time, you know, to even make that other drink. And then all of a sudden, you know, I think it was just under 2 minutes in, a player who I've massively been impressed with. I have to be honest, you know, this tournament, I've publicly said I've never rated him, and I've been made to, you know, apologize really and just kind of say, you know what, he stepped up in this tournament. And there he was, 2 minutes in, a great cross came in from Trippier, who in fact was Saka's replacement, and what a cool finish. And at that point, obviously we're in dreamland. Now I'll come to you first on this one, Lottie. How are you feeling at this point, 2 minutes into the Euro final, and we're 1-0?
Put it this way, my mum's not impressed there's drink stuck to my living room ceiling. Like, that's the fastest goal ever recorded in a European tournament.
Crazy.
And do you know what? It belongs to us. And I'm just so pleased with him. He's still the second best left back in the league, but I'm just absolutely impressed with him. It has to be said, Charlie. But yeah, no, I've eaten a lot of humble pie with him. I've like his positioning, his passing, it's been so precise and direct. That goal was just deserved. He wasn't marked, and more for Italy for allowing it to happen in the first place. But yeah, no, I'm really impressed with him.
And Keith, I'll come to you next. Obviously, you know, there was so much excitement, there was so much nerves, there was so much anticipation with regards, obviously, the kickoff to this game. And to be honest, we couldn't have made a better start. You know, what did you make of the goal, and how were you feeling at this point, you know, when we'd taken a 1-0 lead in the final?
I think, firstly, I mean, I'm the same as you and Lottie. Luke Shaw, I've got to eat the same humble pie as you two, I'm afraid, because I was his biggest critic. I didn't really think anything of him. He kind of dropped off the radar a bit, you know, after the Mourinho abuse that he got at Man United. But I mean, that finish, man, that was absolute world class. It's such a difficult thing to do. The ball from Trippier. And I'll tell you what else really struck me was how quick Kane moved the ball forward through the midfield. I think that was the difference. They were not expecting that. And the miserable old fart in me, I'm just sat there thinking, this is too soon. We can't pick goal off in 2 minutes.
Agreed.
But man, it was mental.
Do you know what? I think I'm the only one that was happy that we got a goal. I didn't care.
I think it's mainly the reason why, you know, my voice is still recovering. But Charlie, I can just imagine. I wasn't there to witness your reaction, but I can just imagine what was going on. Try and put it into words, you know, how that felt when Shaw popped up at the far post and put in an absolute composed and fantastic finish.
All right, I'm not gonna lie. With you guys saying that you're eating humble pie and all that about Luke Shaw, I actually always rated Luke Shaw. To be fair, I know he had his abuse with Mourinho and all that, but I actually could see a really good left back in Luke Shaw, and he's like really started to come of age. I think this tournament, he's shown what he can really do at this tournament, regardless of him being Man United or whatever. Like, the geezer's been class at this tournament, and I think he's got a shout to be our personal player of the tournament. He's definitely got to be up there for one of them. But the goal itself, I can't lie, I'd already drunk a lot before the game. So when that went in, I was just bouncing.
Trust me.
I think half the country was.
You are not alone, Charlie.
Exactly.
Literally. It's crazy. It's like I was saying to the guys before we came on air, there's a reason why I don't have my England top on, and it was mainly because the brandy and coke I had in my hand literally went all over me, and I can't seem to get, well, after the first or second wash, I can't seem to get the stains out. So I'm going to be on Google trying to get stains out of an England shirt. But yeah, you know, I agree with everything you lot have said. You know, I was completely over the moon. I can't even tell you how I reacted. I just know I went absolutely mental. Yeah, it's just I have to agree with Keith. I was a little bit like, after the goal had gone in, I was a little bit like, oh my god, this is too good too soon.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
It was like, I don't know.
You could see the goal coming when they actually got a foothold in the game. You could see the goal was coming from a mile away.
Yeah,
and that's what's disappointing.
Yeah. No, definitely. Well, look, you know, obviously, you know, I think everybody is kind of thinking, you know, everybody kind of has a similar opinion with regard to Luke Shaw. Some of us, like yourself, Charlie, you had, you know, an opinion, which is good. You've got a different opinion there. That's what we welcome on this channel. But I have to agree that it just wasn't an opinion I shared, but I've definitely seen, you know, a real player. And, you know, I can only put it down to maybe you know team biasness that I never saw that to begin with, because he definitely, you know, in terms of player of tournament, I think he would probably just miss out for me, and we'll discuss that a little bit later. But he's definitely in with a shout because, you know, I think Georgina mentioned it, 3 assists and 1 goal for a wing back or a left back. That is phenomenal. So obviously we took the lead. I think, you know, it probably we all kind of calmed down wherever we was watching the game, refilled our drinks, started drinking again, and obviously wanted to go on to enjoy, you know, us potentially winning and lifting the trophy. But the game didn't quite go that way after the goal. And I'll come to you first, you know, with this, Charlie. For me, it just seemed as though we got the goal and we just stopped playing. So was it because, did we stop playing? You know, do you think it was a case of Italy, you know, obviously it was a massive wake-up call for them. Was it a combination of both? Like, was it that we scored too early and we tried to kind of manage the game and keep it at 1-0? Or was it just, you know, we shocked the Italians, we shocked them into obviously playing the football they can play, and they were just a better team and they slowly started to control the game? What's your opinion why we weren't able to press on and get the second?
I think it's a bit of everything that you've just said there, basically. I think we scored early, and from that point, in my opinion, we should have got at them and gone and got another one instead of looking like we started slowing down. Because, say, for the first 25 minutes, we sort of had them pinned back into their own half, and then they grew into the game. And then that's when they started to dominate possession. And then I think I can only remember Chiesa ran through about 3 of our players. They had a shot that went wide. But that's all they had in the first half. So I was like, this is going all right. Obviously, they've started to grow in the game. But then the second half, we just came out and it looked like we tried to defend the 1-0 lead. And then we got caught out from, I like to use this word a lot, but it was a spawny goal. Like, it went through everyone. And then they had a free header at the back post, which Pickford tipped onto the post, and that could have gone anywhere, but it literally fell straight to the feet of Bonucci, and obviously Kane's on the line, but he can't block it from a yard out.
Yeah.
And then that goal just gives them just even more momentum because they just pressed on from there. I know we had a little spell in extra time, but I just think after they equalised, it was only going to be one winner if there was going to be another goal in extra time.
Yeah, it's definitely. It seemed as though, like I said, for me, after obviously the hysteria and the excitement of England taking the lead so early on in the game, you know, the momentum as the game went on, the momentum you could physically see it, you could feel it. It shifted, and it was shifting towards the Italians. Keith, I know Charlie's kind of summed up in terms of his opinion as to why that happened. Would you put it down to poor? Because if we just say, obviously, initially when we did score, you know, obviously I think the plan was to not concede straight away, because I think any coach in the world would tell you that. Let's keep it tight. Let's keep it 1-0. But going into half time and the way the lads came out in the second half, what were they told? What do you think they were told? What do you think their mentality was? Because it did seem like what Charlie said. It did seem like we were kind of playing for the 1-0. Is that tactical? Is that coaching and management error? Is it a bit of nerves on the player side? What would you put it down to?
I think it could be both. I think we probably were. I mean, if you look at the first half or how Italy finished the first half, like how we flew out the blocks, probably first 15, 20 minutes, the momentum was always going to shift at some point in the first half because we couldn't possibly have kept that up. And what I really wanted to see start of the second half was us come out like we did in the first half, just to get the balance back on our side, because they'd finished in the ascendancy in the first half and they just carried on where they left off. And I remember looking around and me and my mates were talking, we were like, we're in trouble here. I don't remember us having a single shot on goal in the second half. And maybe that was the game plan. Maybe it was, look, we're just going to try to see this out as a 1-0. But like Charlie said, you could just see the goal coming. They were getting closer and closer. We were giving more and more space. And again, I agree with Charlie. The goal was pretty spawny, to be honest. The only thing that really struck me that was disappointing, I'm not going to sit here and call any of our players out, of course, because these two I thought played, they were brilliant.
Oops, have we lost Keith?
The lag switch. I
think we've lost Keith. We'll come to you, Lottie. So again, you know, it was so disappointing because obviously where we started the game so well, I think, you know, all England fans were just hopeful that we would go on and get the second. And I think when it came to half time, I think everybody would agree we needed half time. We needed halftime to come. But I was sitting there thinking, you know what, he's going to get them back in the dressing room and they're going to come out as they did in the first half and really kind of take the game to Italy. But it just never happened. Now, I don't know. You know, at the time, I was watching the game and I was thinking, you know, I wasn't sure how I'm feeling. But now kind of having some kind of reflection on it, do you think Southgate got his second half tactics right?
I knew you was going to ask me this. If I'm honest with you, like, don't apologise. Oh, it's fine. He kind of like, how do I put it? He fluffed it without being too sweary. Yeah. I mean, we kind of just went back into second gear, and I'm like, what are we doing? Like, do we not want to win this game? Like, I know Italy have got some class players. We shouldn't have literally sat back and waited for them to score. It was just absolutely ridiculous. As soon as that goal went in, we should have just pushed on and gone for another. And then I think that would have sealed the deal. But obviously it wasn't in Southgate's game plan. But it is just, I'm trying not to criticise him because I'm so proud of that team. It's just really difficult. But yeah, no, it's just wasn't on right.
Yeah.
That's all I can say on it with regards to that.
It was a difficult one. And obviously, you know, we'll regrettably have to bring up the image. Obviously, you know, as you've both, or all three of you kind of mentioned, trust me, it pains me to bring this image up. But obviously on the, I'll take it off swiftly. On the 66th minute, and look at that, 66th minute as well. The corner obviously wasn't dealt with. And there was loads of stuff going on in the box, and what a scrappy goal it was. Bonucci tucked it away, and I think we all could be honest enough to say it was coming at this point. They had really, the game had really swung in terms of in their favour, and at that point, I think I was watching it with a house full, and we were all just increasingly nervous as the time was going on. And for me, I feel like they scored almost at the perfect time. Because it was almost like at that moment where the game is kind of 3/4 of the game or so. You're kind of approaching the 3/4 mark, and it's like, okay, if we can hold on for another 10-15 minutes, we've got this probably in the bag. And I kind of felt like at that point, I think we were settling. And I don't want to be critical of Southgate because he's actually earned a lot of respect from me in this tournament. I wasn't his biggest fan, and I'm not all of a sudden going to say, what, he's crap, he's this, he's that, because he's not. But I do think he did get the tactics wrong in the second half. I think Italy proved throughout the tournament what good a team they were, and we as good as we are defensively, no team for me is good enough to sit back defensively and give this team the ball for 50, 60 minutes. At some point, they've got enough quality where they're going to get a chance. And to be fair, they probably could have won it in the 90. Because when it went to obviously extra time, I remember sitting there thinking, blow the whistle, blow the whistle. I just wanted the game to end. I wanted them to be able to regroup and go into extra time. Now, obviously extra time approached, and how did you feel? I'll come to you first, Lottie. Throughout the kind of 30 minutes of extra time, did you feel like England started to play better in extra time? Did you feel like the game could swing either way, or were you just kind of hoping for penalties at this point?
I didn't want penalties, but as I said, my prediction from the last show, I know that I was talking to Steve, AFC Pressure. He's in the comments. I've just seen it. And we both said 1-1 and then into extra time, but no one could see that ending. I know I definitely couldn't. But in terms of the extra time, I was all over the place. I was just like, I was sitting there watching through my fingers half the time. I couldn't watch it. It was an absolute nightmare. But we did have our moments, which were good, but I wanted the ball in the back of the net. That's all. It's all I wanted. I wanted it done. If we'd have actually got that second one, we would have been fine. And we could have defended for the rest of that time, and I wouldn't have cared.
Yeah, it was a game where you could tell whoever scored next would win. Yeah. And I think we were all obviously willing the lads on to get the second goal, but obviously the second goal didn't come. Now, Charlie, as the game approached the end of extra time, how were you feeling going into the potential penalty shootout at this point?
Not very good. And I'll tell you why, because the Italians are very good at penalty shootouts, and England are shocking at penalty shootouts. You just have to look at the previous records. Like Southgate himself, bless him, missed his penalty at Euro '96. It's just in folklore that we lose on penalties. I was trying my best to sit there and say that we're going to win, but Rumour, the geezer, he just covers the whole goal.
How tall is he? I know he's 22, but how tall is he?
Too tall.
Exactly. Sorry, Charlie.
I think he must be about 6'6", 6'7", if not taller than that.
Yeah.
But I'm watching our guys put the ball on the spot, and I'm looking at Rumour in goal, and I'm like, nah. He's gonna save a few of these.
Yeah.
And I know. As I even when Harry Maguire stepped up, I thought, what?
Yeah.
And he slapped his in the top corner, and I thought, he's clearly been practicing his penalties. But I don't know. It's just, I think we needed to get it done in the 90. I think, because you could see in the second half we looked tired, especially in the late stages of the second half. We looked tired, and they just looked like they had a second wind because they were just bossing us. I don't know if that was also down to tactics or because and the substitutions as well. They came on too late. I think.
Yeah.
I think we needed to make some subs earlier. But like I said, I'm not gonna criticise Southgate, and I'll definitely eat humble pie with Southgate because I actually called him out before the tournament started for his negative football.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
good evening. Obviously, I brought on our final guest. Good evening, Gunner King. Apologies, I'm not sure how long you were sitting there, but where my screen is, I couldn't actually see what was going on. How are you this evening?
Apologies, I was late, guys. So I had another show that overran
No
slightly.
No problem.
No worries.
So yeah, just to kind of summarize, obviously, we've got quite a bit to talk through still with regards to England. We kind of covered lineup. We covered kind of match incidents in terms of goals. Obviously, approaching second half and the penalties. Just obviously, we've spoken to the guys and we've got their opinion. If you can just kind of sum up England's performance without touching too much on the penalty incidents at the end, but just sum up the kind of 90 minutes. You could even touch upon the lineup if you wanted to, but mainly the 90 minutes and how England approached the game, going ahead early in the game, maybe kind of taking their foot off the gas, conceding. What is your opinion in terms of where the game was won and lost in this final?
Yeah, I think the lineup was the right one. To switch to the back five because their threat, the Italians' threat, was very much throughout the tournament coming from their kind of wide forwards. Like they're not wingers. They're coming inside and they're looking to kind of shoot on their opposite foot. So if you double up on the fullbacks on both sides, it leaves more opportunities to isolate them because they get past one. They've got the other centre back that can come out to meet them. So I thought that was right and it worked. The way that we started the game in terms of like from the kickoff, like we had the ascendancy for like the first 10, 15 minutes. We were going at them and we were playing with like a belief that we were going to win that game. We scored. Could it be said that we scored too early and that belief went to our head? Where if we had kept knocking and then got a goal, and it could have taken the wind out of their sails a bit because they would have spent so long trying to stop us from scoring, only to not do that. That might have been a different kind of mental state to kind of shift from. But as soon as we scored the first goal, my first thoughts were, go for the jugular. Don't change anything. There's no point changing anything. You get a second goal, and you keep up defending how we were, because we were defending really well. We limited them to very few chances in the first half. I don't think any inside the box that I can remember. So I feel we should have gone for the second goal. And I think that this is kind of a wider problem that we have as a nation. Like before tournaments, we talk ourselves out of it. We say, oh, if we come up against France, we can't play like they play. If we come up against Italy, we can't play like they play. We have to like defend and counter. And if we go ahead, we have to defend leads. And it's like, this isn't football. Like this is like if you're in a position of strength, you look to hammer that home. Like as far as I'm concerned. And it did seem like we took our foot off the gas. And we're trying
would you say that was more down to tactics than Italy being the better side and having better players?
In the first half, it wasn't. But in the second half, what happened is, well, like Mancini is a manager that we know has got a hairdryer in. He would get teams in at half time when he managed City. He would put the fear of God in them so that when they come out, they're like a team possessed. So that's why I felt we should have gone for a second goal in the first half. And we had the ascendancy in the first part of the first half, to be able to do that. We just didn't press home that advantage enough. So when they came out the second half, they were a different team.
Yeah.
I think they were definitely, from that moment, they were the better team. They were, in my opinion, the team that deserved to win the game, like looking back at it. And I think it was that halftime kind of moment where it was only 1-0 that changed that. I think overall, the quality in certain areas that they've got is better. Like, I think Rumour, As Charlie mentioned, I mean, the guy's an animal. He broke into Milan's team when he was like 16, 17, and he was already winning penalty shootouts at that age, by the way, for Milan as well. I've watched him win a few. So, yeah, I mean, he's, you know, obviously their defense is solid, their midfield solid. Could you argue that Kane up front is probably offers a bit more than Immobile, perhaps? But I think that's the one area that we've got on them as a team. But in the first half, we were the better team. It was just from there, second half, extra time, it was probably more in Italy's favour.
Yeah, so kind of like, in summary, kind of almost like a game of two halves, really. And Italy seemed to kind of just grow in stature when they scored, whereas we kind of potentially missed out on a great opportunity. Okay, so thank you for that, Gunner King.
Sure.
So obviously, you know, it went to penalties, and I personally don't want to relive every single penalty as it happened, even though there were high points, there were low points. I'm just going to bring up this image now. I don't really want to bring up this image because I don't really want to highlight the fact that obviously, you know, these three guys missed, but nevertheless, it was, you know, these three players that missed. Now, let's open the debate, because I have to be honest. At the time when these three players stepped up at different points, I can't even remember what kick it was at this point. I have to say I was a bit surprised, you know, and I think it's something worth talking about, because my gut instinct, and I know there was a lot of emotion as these players missed, and obviously as they missed that, and the fault, you know, the result was decided and we lost, and to be honest, I can't even describe how I was feeling, but I want to open up the debate to you guys, and I don't want to put you lot into difficult positions. And if you don't want to share your opinion, you don't need to share your opinion. But for me, I can't quite fathom, and I have to say, I've been contemplating whether I should say this. I can't quite fathom why at least two of these three players took penalties.
At least two, yeah.
And when they took the penalty as well.
Completely agree.
Yeah.
So
completely agree.
I'll come to you first, Charlie, because I know you're a bit eager to jump in there. So what is your opinion about? Because once everybody's kind of had their say, I have my say. But what is your opinion about Rashford, Sancho, and Saka taking the penalties, and more importantly, the fact that Saka took the deciding or potentially deciding penalty?
All right. So at first, obviously, I was in the moment of the game, so I didn't really care who took the penalties because I was behind them regardless of whatever happened. But obviously, once the game was finished, I sat there and I thought, why is Sancho and Saka taking penalties? Rashford can take penalties. So when he missed, it was a bit of a shock for me. But personally, Harry Kane's our best penalty taker. So personally, like Jorginho did in the semi-final, he went last. I would have put Harry Kane last. Because I know it's also good to have someone to go first to get you off the mark. But I personally always think that your best penalty taker should go last. I know you're taking a bit of a risk if you don't make it that far. But penalties is a lottery, man. It's like, it's a flip of a coin. Like, because I take them myself. Whenever I take them, I always just pick my spot and I just try and slap it as hard as I can in that corner. And if the keeper saves it, he saves it. But as far as Saka taking the last one, I don't know. I think some of the senior players bottled it, man. I think Sterling should have taken one. I don't know why he didn't take one.
He was substituted off, so he couldn't have taken one.
Oh, was it?
So that decision was taken out of his hands.
So, okay, so then Grealish, I thought Grealish should have taken one as well. He was substituted on. But again, I just think those three that stepped up have all got a load of bollocks about them because they're really pressured penalties, regardless of where you're taking them, what order, they're really pressured penalties. But I think it is a bit big to put your most precious penalty on a 19-year-old. But then again, I'm not going to criticise Southgate because he then come out and said that I picked this order, we practiced them in training, these are our 5 takers. So I sort of just accepted it. I might not completely agree with it, but I accepted it. But I think they're all heroes regardless. Regardless of who scored, who missed, I think they're all heroes.
Yeah. And for me to kind of, just make it clear with regards people who are watching, for me kind of bringing up this subject, it's more from a kind of putting myself in Southgate's shoes. And I know that's really difficult. The guy's been a professional footballer, he's a qualified coach, manager, etc., etc. But for me, I just couldn't quite get my head around those decisions. And as much as I find it really difficult to criticize them, I can't help but to criticize them to a certain extent. Lottie, anything to add on top of what Charlie said there with regards to penalty takers in terms of personnel and when they took them?
To be honest with you, I was kind of surprised to see Rashford. He's had hardly any minutes. He's been off form, and I remember watching him, and he did this like little shuffle before he went off, and I thought, what are you doing? Just get it in the back of the net. And I think adding that is it was a bit ridiculous for me, but it didn't. I don't know how he missed it because he rarely misses when he's at United. Sancho's had a great season in the Bundesliga. He only had 45 minutes all tournament, but I was expecting him to land that straight in the net. And as for our star boy, he broke me. He absolutely broke me because I knew what was coming next across the socials. I knew as soon as that went in. His reaction broke me. I just, yeah.
Okay, and Gunner King, just give it to me. What were your thoughts with regards to personnel and when they took penalties?
Rashford I was fine with because, as Charlie said, he's a very good penalty taker. He's only had it taken off him at United because since Bruno came in. You guys will remember when him and Pogba were famously arguing over who should take a penalty. Yes, he's missed a few, but not a great deal. He's scored far more for United than he's missed. So Rashford, I understood. What I didn't understand was, given that he's not had many minutes or barely any the whole tournament, I thought he would have brought him on earlier. Sorry to bring up like what happened before the shootout, but I thought he would have given him at least 5 or 10 minutes on the pitch, before then having to take the most important penalty kick of his career, given that he's not played at all during the tournament. Just to kind of G him up a bit, give him more confidence, bringing him on, through the back door with literally a minute and a half to spare because he's a good penalty taker. It's like that says to him in his mind psychologically, you're just on to take a penalty because you're better at it than all the other players. That's not instilling you with confidence as a player. Do you know what I mean? Like, so I don't want to dig out Southgate, but we do have to kind of, these things just stare you in the face, in terms of the decisions. And obviously hindsight's a wonderful thing, and we don't do his job. We don't have his expertise, but that to me seems a bit obvious, that might cause a problem. And I think it did. And I think what that did was for the 2 younger players that went after, Sancho and Saka probably being guys that look up to Rashford because Sancho's 21, Saka's 19. So it's like kind of that succession thing where you've got the elder there and he's missed. And then for those 2, it's like that's probably made it more of a pressure situation because they're young. They're not experienced. Saka has not even taken a penalty in his professional career ever. So I'm not trying to just say this because I support Arsenal. I don't understand what he was doing anywhere absolutely near being allowed to take a penalty. And I think the whole consensus has been like, well, he put his hand up and he nominated himself for it. Jose Mourinho, who I can't fucking stand for the life of me, so excuse my French, came out and said, if my player had done that in a situation, I would have patted him on the back and said, it's great of you that you've got the balls to actually step up and take a penalty, but he's taking it. He would have Mourinho literally said, I would have nominated anyone but Saka to take 1, a penalty, but 2, the 5th penalty. Mental. Absolutely crazy. That for me, like, I don't care what you've seen in training. This is not training. This is the first final that England have been in 55 years. And you mean to tell me you want to put the hopes of winning that shootout in the last penalty kick on a 19-year-old who is at his first international major tournament, who's only played just under 60 professional games for Arsenal in the Premier League, not including his Europe games. But you get my point, right?
Yeah.
It like the mind boggles. And again, I don't want to be critical or like take away from what was a very good tournament for Southgate.
Agreed.
It was. I have to say the same thing Charlie said. I went into that tournament, just thinking all he was good for was wearing waistcoats. I didn't give him the time of day or credit.
Yeah.
And after the Germany game, I wrote a letter of apology to him and a lot of players, and I made peace with it, and I wished him all the best. I didn't question any of his lineups after that. But in that moment, I want to know what made him think that made sense. Like without wanting to be critical of him, because like that is just a ridiculously high pressure situation for any 19-year-old to be in.
Yeah.
Let alone a guy that's never taken a penalty in his professional career. Like, I think the order was crazy as well. I think maybe, like Charlie said, Italy make Jorginho one of their last penalty takers. He's one of their better ones. I think Southgate went with having the better ones take their penalties first to win the shootout earlier. But the other thing as well with Donnarumma, with a keeper that good, you have to go top bins. You're better off trying to go top bins and missing, than trying to find a bottom corner and him saving it, because he will save it. If he guesses the right side, he will save it. If it's the right height for him, even up to waist height, he's been doing it all his career. With Maguire's penalty, he took the penalty properly in a sense of he just went for a top bin. So that's something else they should have all been prepared to do as well.
It's a tough one, and like I say, it's this is not about just kind of hating or anything like that. I think it's really important at the end of the day we give praise where praise is due. I've publicly said before the tournament I wasn't Southgate's biggest fan. I've since kind of held my hands up and said, you know what, I got to give him credit in terms of his performances and leading England to the final. Sure, infamously some of the stuff I said about Luke Shaw, I think he's been one of England's standout players.
Harry Maguire as well.
I openly said I didn't even rate him as a player. I've gone back on a lot of the things I've said. At the same time, for me, there's nothing wrong with critiquing and analysing incidents and situations, as long as you're doing it with dignity and you're doing it with rationale, and you're not, offending somebody or victimizing somebody. There's not a problem with it, in my opinion, because we're all entitled to opinions. And I have to say that I share all of your opinions in that. For me, this was the biggest. I said this to a couple of people, before the match. I said, I don't care what these players have done for their clubs. This match trumps everything. Literally, you could have won. You saw the reaction of Messi winning the Copa America for Argentina. Him lifting that competition for Argentina trumps 4 Champions Leagues. It trumps all the La Ligas he's won.
Trebles he's done as well.
It does.
A plural number of trebles. Like who says that in their career?
When you win something for your nation, it's on a completely different level. And for me, I have to say it. They got it wrong. They got it completely wrong. And I know it's easy to say that on hindsight, but even when I saw them going through the process of selection and what looked like to be the selection, I was screaming at my TV saying, what are you doing? Because I could see he was picking Saka. I could see that Sancho was in the mix. And I thought to myself, hold on. And I will go even as far as to say Rashford. Because, you know, I know Rashford is a seasoned pro. He's got experience. You know, he takes penalties, you know, for Manchester United, albeit recently. But the end of his season was awful. And coming into this tournament, we've not really relied on him at all throughout the other games. Rightly or wrongly, he's not really been, you know, in the games. And I just think of all the senior players that we have in the squad, and I will name them. You know, we've got players like, I know Sterling couldn't take one, but we've got more senior players. You know, if you look at in terms of age and experience, you know, Walker could have potentially stepped up. Henderson.
He subbed off Henderson right before after he'd subbed him on as well.
Yeah. And for me, you know, I'll say this and then I'll open it up again. For me, I sat there and I said to myself, if I was in that team, I wouldn't even have let Saka take it. Even if the coach had said to me, Saka's taking one, I would have said, Coach, I'm going to take that. Because there is no way I could let this boy, and I'm sorry, you know, as good as a player he is, he's a child, you know. I couldn't allow him to step up and take the 5th penalty for England. I just couldn't do it. Even if I thought, you know what, there's a high chance I'm going to miss this and I'm going to be hated. I couldn't bring myself to watch him step up. When I saw him stepping up to take that penalty against whatever his name is, I was absolutely crapping it. And I almost knew he was going to miss at that point. So yeah, I think they got it wrong. I don't know if anybody else wants to add, but I think they got it wrong.
No, they did get it wrong, but I am going to defend Grealish. He called out Sky Sports over social media and he volunteered to do it and he got told no.
See it. Yeah.
And nobody else has said that, and I will defend Grealish on that subject.
Yeah. The thing, because Keane came out and tried to throw him under a bus, man.
He did.
Yeah, he did.
But that's all Roy Keane does, though. He throws everyone under the bus.
Yeah, he says what he thinks, and you always know where you stand with him. That's why I kind of like him, but sometimes I think he's an absolute donut.
Yeah.
But I will defend Grealish.
I agree. I agree with you, Lottie. They're definitely on defending him. But I still sort of echo what I say. Like, Southgate obviously picked the players for a reason. Like, there'll be, like, we're all sitting here saying that he's 19, and all that, and he shouldn't be taking them. And I completely agree. I don't understand why he took one when there's more senior players there, especially the last one. But they'd obviously been practicing them in training, or they had obviously been doing something. I know obviously we can't see that what they've been doing in training, but why would Southgate in an interview come out and lie and say that, I've just gone out and I've just picked these 5 players for the fun of it?
I'm totally with you, Charlie. But I also look at it like this. If we had any other England manager there, right, Saka would be 4th choice. End of story. Because there's so many people.
The choice at all.
He wouldn't be taking one.
Exactly. He wouldn't have gone to that tournament. He wouldn't have. He would have been 4th choice in that position.
Yeah.
He's gone there.
Either that or like a choice for one of the sudden death ones. Sorry.
He's gone there. He's gone there, and not only has he taken his chance, but he's impressed. Like, the amount of praise, not like I said in the Saka video, the amount of praise that he's got from, like, I've got a lot of Spurs mates, and I mean most of my mates are Spurs fans, and even they're like hyping him up.
That's fine.
Yeah, no, I went out the other day. I went for a run before the game, and my street is Tottenham fans. I am the only gooner on my street, and I saw Saka banners out. I didn't take any pictures. I need to go and take some pictures, so they're still up. There was Saka banners and everything.
I'll tell you what,
I'm an Arsenal fan living in Tottenham. So,
I'm only up the road from you then, King.
I'll tell you what, we best hope that we start getting some levels of success at Arsenal. Otherwise, that boy is going to end up at a Real Madrid or a Barcelona or something.
Yeah.
Do you know what? He needs to stay. We need to keep him at all costs.
That's
I
what
swear,
I'm
if Arsenal
saying.
sell him, I'll never forgive him.
We
Never.
need to start upping our game at Arsenal. Otherwise,
The thing is as well,
come and swoop him.
Mm.
for me, right? So let me just tell you my story of how I was watching it. My girlfriend is a Manchester United fan, and one of my friends that came over was also a Manchester United fan. And so obviously, you know, in terms of the Saka thing, they're the same as well. Like they love the kid, you know. And the thing was, right, I was doing a TikTok live with my phone, and my friend was doing a Facebook live on his phone. And the United players missed their penalties first. So Rashford missed his, then Sancho missed his. And before Saka had missed his, I had turned around on both lives and I had said to all like the followers that I was speaking to on both of them, I don't want to see anyone shaming these United players. You know, like, I made a point of saying it because
100%.
You know, like, and I hate United. I'll be honest. Like, you know, like after Spurs, they're probably the team I hate the most.
Yeah.
Oh, it's got to be Chelsea for me. It's got to be Chelsea for me. I'm afraid maybe third.
They're up there. Because I grew up on the Wenger, Ferguson kind of.
Yeah.
I grew up in that time, you know, where they were going at it. So, in spite of that, you know, like I think everyone's put rivalry aside to support these guys, and
100%. It needed to be done. It needs to be done.
Definitely. Obviously, yeah, we've got a two-part show to this show. We've got Rumour Mill coming up shortly, so I am conscious of the time. But you know, there is something that we can't ignore. There's something that we have to discuss and address, and that is obviously the fallout. So obviously, you know, the three players, could have been any players that stepped up. You know, missed. You know, it was Rashford, it was Sancho, and it was Saka. And I kind of want to take it back because I think it's important to take it back. I think it's important to not just talk about what happened after the players missed. And, you know, racism, it's not new. And even with regards to this tournament, it's not new because I remember when the tournament started, that there was a section, a minority section of England fans that were booing players for taking the knee. Obviously, as England progressed and as England did well, that seemed to subside throughout the tournament. Obviously, these three players missed, and you know what happened after was obviously an onslaught of online abuse. You had the defacing of the word's gone from me now.
Rashford's mural.
Rashford.
You've even had, I think I saw a couple of stories about some, you know, celebrities or comedians, you know, losing gigs and so forth for obviously putting out, you know, racially motivated information and statuses and stuff like that. So it's something we can't ignore, and it's something that you know, regrettably we have to talk about. And I'm going to be honest, and I know Lottie knows this, and I know Stephen knows this. It's one of the reasons why this show took, and I'm going to be completely transparent, one of the main reasons why this show took so long to take place was because after the result,
me too.
After the result, it wasn't even about the football for me.
Yeah, no.
I was absolutely. I don't know why I was surprised because I shared a voice note that I sent to a girl I used to go to school with, and about 5 or 6 hours before the game, we actually had a conversation, and the conversation was along the lines of, you know what? I hope whatever happens tonight, I hope the black players play well, and she said to me, I know why you're saying that. And she shared the same opinion. And it's because I knew this would happen. Like I knew the reaction and what it would be like for a minority and a section of England fans. And this is not labeling England fans, but you know, as a person of ethnicity, I've experienced racism, and I've experienced it on the football field when I used to play Saturday and Sunday league football. And I just knew this was going to happen. And one of the main reasons why this show took so long to take place is because I really felt so angry, flat, low. It's taken me quite a few days to actually, kind of gear myself up to actually talk about it, because the emotions I was feeling for these three guys was just it really hit a nerve for me personally. Now, where does football go from here? That's my question. What can we do? And obviously, everybody will know, or if you don't know, you should know. With regards, we've created this video for Saka. We've put it out there to obviously just show him, how much love we have for him, how much support we have for him.
I saw it earlier.
Yeah, but obviously it's not just him, and in the grand scheme of things, amazing as it is, it's it is very small. We want to do more. We wish we could do more, but where does football go from here? And I'm going to come to you, Gunner King, and I'm not coming to you because you're of ethnicity, but where does football go from here? Because it's the year 2021, and we're still having this conversation.
Put it like this, right? So I want to tell some people. I want to tell you guys a bit about my life before I answer this question. I'll keep it brief, but I think it will help you understand what this kind of behavior means to me. So my mum is from India. Yeah, my mum was brought here from India, age 8. As you're aware, you may be aware that the cultural practice there is have arranged marriages, as per what's known as the Hindu caste system. At 17, she was told she was going to have an arranged marriage. She didn't. She ran away and eloped with my father, who is a Sierra Leonean West African man. As a result, my mum's family have disowned her and us. There's uncles, cousins, people I don't know on her side of the family on the basis of my colors, the color of my father's skin and his religion. So these incidents, I don't just hurt for the players. It takes me back through everything I went through in my childhood that I struggled with, because it wasn't just from my own family. Then I was going to school and I was getting told, go back to your country. I was getting called the P word and the N word because no one could quite figure out what category I fell into. So some people are like, fuck it, I'll just call you both of them. There you go. So I've experienced it firsthand from my own flesh and blood. So when at the beginning of the tournament, through our channel, I put up some statuses about taking the knee. And I was just pointing out to people that you're not booing people that are taking the knee anymore. And I actually had people engaging with my Twitter saying, oh, you support the organization. Because I put hashtag Black Lives Matter in a tweet. And it's like, I've not linked anything to the organization. I've not mentioned the organization. I've just mentioned the statement, as in he's even turned around to me and said the statement matters, the organization doesn't. So if the statement matters, why is your first inclination when I make the statement to assume I've linked it to the organization when nothing I've said includes the organization? There's no links to the organization, no request to mobilize and join the organization. I'm simply stating that Black Lives Matter. Yeah. And for that, I got my ass handed to me by some guy that wanted to think that I support and I don't want to get into politics, because this is a football show. Yeah. But obviously I studied history as well, and these things. And the thing is, right, people say that taking the knee is linked to BLM. Martin Luther King was encouraging people to take the knee, and I can show people pictures of it clear as day at multiple protests. He was taking the knee when he was alive for the same thing. So whatever you want to think about it being linked to the organization, why are people doing it before the organization existed? The organization is 5, 6, 7 years old. Yeah, people were taking the knee decades ago. Yeah, so that for me seems like a lot of people are trying to shut down what the work is that we're trying to do and raising the awareness. If a kid sees players taking the knee and they turn to their parents and they ask why, their parents understand that it's doing its job. Okay, you're not seeing any immediate change, but 20, 30 years from then, that kid is remembering it. It's like my dad hates football, right? But when John Barnes had a banana thrown at him and John Barnes picked up the banana and threw it off the pitch, my dad sat me down and he explained to me the importance of that moment. He was like, this is what it meant. This is what it means. And that stuck with me throughout my life because the man hates football. If we was here now and there was a game on, he would be in the other room because he just didn't take me to games, none of that. You know, like I developed my love of the game through my friends at school. The point is, right, now I can name Gerrard has missed a professional penalty that's lost a penalty shootout for England. I believe Lampard has. Carragher did as well. Southgate did. And not one of these people, yes, there was hate directed towards them and abuse directed towards them, but none of it pertained to the colour of their skin. And that's what bothers me. And I can tell you right now, based on everything that I've told you about my life, I couldn't leave my room on Monday. I couldn't leave my room. Like, my girlfriend stayed in a separate part of the house. So you think it just affects the players? It affects every person that have to live through the same events. You know, like they are literally, all of my childhood shit was just dragged out of a closet in that moment and just held up in front of me, you know, and I'm in that room reliving what I went through as a child, you know, and this will stay with me for the rest of my life. And there's other people out there, you know, like you said, you've experienced it, you know, there's other people out there that have experienced it where you're not just empathizing or remorseful to those players. It becomes about you as well. And, you know, it's just sad that it was
rough. It was rough, and I'm going to come to you guys, Charlie and Lottie, in a second. I have to say, because you know, I was kind of not too sure of how honest I wanted to be, but I would echo what you said there, Gunner King. This morning was the first day that I could kind of venture out of my bedroom. Really, I'm not a person that I've got my office set up here because I've been working from home for a year and a half, but for the last since the game, I've literally been opening my laptop in my bedroom. Today was the first time I had a shower since Sunday, and the first day I got dressed. And it was
pretty much the same here, buddy.
It wasn't because of the result in the end. It was because of the fallout and how the players had been treated. Now, I want to share this image because I want to shed some light, you know, because, you know, no matter how, you know, grim it appears and how bad it is, you know, I always do like to be positive and as optimistic as possible. And obviously, you know, this for me was amazing. You know, obviously, you know, Rashford's what happened to Rashford's you know, image was before it was actually fixed. You know, his community basically fixed it. And they showered, you know, him and the other two lads with, you know, messages of support and messages of love and so forth to cover what had basically defaced the image of Rashford. Now, what more can be done to prevent, you know, something like this happening? You know, I'll open it to everybody, really. Lottie and Charlie, I know me and Gunner King have kind of had a lot to say there from our personal experiences, but and I don't want to put the solutions to you guys at all, because I want to know, because I'm kind of at a point where over the last couple of days, I feel more like now I know what can be done, and I'm happy, you know, and I'm constantly trying to work towards it. But, you know, can football eradicate racism? You know, what more can be done by clubs, by the FA, by social media platforms for this to not happen again?
If I'm honest, after hearing your stories, guys, I am sorry for basically people just being absolute pieces of shit.
You don't have to be sorry, like
you
you
got nothing to apologize for at all. Nothing at all, trust me. But I'm just keen to, because there have been moments over the last 2 days where I just felt like, what's the point? Like it's never going to change.
I felt that on your voice notes Sunday night, and that's why I kind of didn't come back to you. But I think the key thing for this is going to be education, because I think I put out a tweet Sunday night, and it said racism isn't taught, so quit teaching it. And I think that is the way forward. It's about educating in the schools. It's about getting the social media platforms to make people accountable for their actions. Verify them, but you can verify them to the point where you still can keep your stuff private. Because I think I had an argument with someone on Twitter over it, and I said no, it needs to be verified, but then you can keep your information private. End of story. So if you do anything wrong, you are accountable for it.
Yeah, I think and I'll come to you, Charlie. Feel free. You don't have to, share an opinion, but I think what when I look at what happens with
Stephen's going to join us, if that's okay.
Yeah, no problem. Good evening, Stephen.
Evening, guys.
Evening. And obviously, with regards, there was the whole I can't even remember, the Super League and so forth, and I think it was very evident, that organizations kind of took a stance and really wanted to prevent this Super League from taking place. In terms of, like, I don't know, Stephen or even Charlie, do you feel as though more can be done, or if so, what?
I think it's going to be around for God knows how long, because you can't physically stop stuff from coming out of people's mouths. People are going to hate, and it is what it is. Unfortunately, you're going to get idiots on social media platforms. You see, I remember an incident when I think we played Montenegro, and there was people in the crowd chanting at Raheem Sterling, and the game got abandoned for racist abuse, and that was just targeted at Raheem Sterling. So unfortunately, I think it's just going to be around. Like, I think social media platforms definitely have to do more, though. Like, they can see that people are deliberately doing it and saying it, but they don't do nothing about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's very little accountability on their part. Stephen, I know you're sitting there, and I know you were due to kind of come on a little bit later, but I feel as though you definitely have an opinion on this, obviously from our private conversation. So feel free to share. This is a very kind of open and transparent, conversation we're having on Cannon Chatter tonight.
Yeah, do you know what? It's funny. I've been sitting here in the background, as I often do when we do these shows, listening in. And do you know what? For the first time in a while, I'm actually feeling a bit a bit jittery. And listening to you guys' stories, I mean, me and G have obviously talked before a lot in private about things. And whilst I've never been a victim of racism, because at the end of the day, I'm a white person and it's less common for it to happen. G knows I've experienced sectarianism in my life. I've grown up in Northern Ireland. I've grown up in a country that's been, you have to be careful what way you say the letter H or H, depending on what street you're in, So I've experienced things and I've been through that, but I'm kind of choking up a bit here listening to you guys, and to just sort of say what more can be done. I spent the last 2 days trying to talk G out of his bedroom, and G's one of my best friends, believe it or not. And it sounds silly because me and G have never actually physically met in person. We only know each other through this. Yet I consider him one of my best friends, and I've literally spent the last 2 days trying to talk to him. And I know there's been times where he hasn't wanted to talk, even to me, and that's fine. But he also knows that this is something I feel really, really strongly about. So what more can be done? I've said it before, it's all about the education. We have to educate people, and we have to educate young people, because I come from a background in my career where I was a sales trainer for a large mobile phone company. And one of the things I learned when I was a trainer was all behavior is learned. Kids learn this behavior. Nobody's racist when they're born. Nobody's sectarian when they're born. Nobody is, anti-gay or anything like that when they're born. They have to be taught this. So the sooner we can get to kids and educate them, the better. Now, we as a platform, me and G had talked about this way back at the start, and over the last few days, this has just pushed me even further. We as a platform are going to do something. We have talked about it over the last couple of weeks, about doing something on a Lottie show and talking about this. And, we are going to do that, but we're going to do that with a launch of something as well. We're going to launch a campaign, and we're going to do more, as we're only a small channel and a small Twitter account and whatever, but we're growing, and we're going to use our little bit of influence to try and do something. Me and G have also been talking about something else, which I'm going to keep between me and him just for now, but we have bigger plans. We'll never eradicate racism. We'll never eradicate sectarianism. We'll never eradicate homophobia or any other, thing that is, I'm trying to think of the right words here. There will always be diversity, and people will always have issues with it. But the more we can educate people, and the more we can come together and talk and highlight it and show that there doesn't need to be a difference. G is like my brother, and yet we're completely different backgrounds. I love him like a brother.
I love you too, bro.
And that should be a normal thing. Why can't that just be the normal?
Yeah.
It never will be. And I'm not naive enough to think that it will. But we can make a difference, and we will. And it's by having conversations like this that we will start to make a difference. I said it before about the social media thing that they did with the blackout for the weekend and people not coming on. Conversations like this will do more good than people just not going on to social media for a weekend. Because what happened, it was lovely that weekend. I didn't boycott social media. I was on, and it was lovely that weekend.
Exactly.
But on the Monday, it all just started again.
I think when you hear like firsthand what it's like, the problems I had growing up, like with my temper, like with a lot of like elements of my life that obviously came from like my experiences from my own family, and now my sensitivity to racism as well, like how that's made me react in the past as well. Like I think when people hear these stories, that like sometimes the penny drops, like the damage that they're actually doing, like for something to be happening in the middle of Wembley. I'm just watching a football game, and then all of a sudden to go from that, I'm with my girlfriend and my friend, I'm having a great time. England have progressed in the tournament, we're doing well. I've never lived to see England play in a final, but for that to be able to just change, over what's been seen. And one of my other best friends that lives here, he did the same what you were saying, G. So he's fallen out of love with football. He was a United fan, but he's recently his kid's 5 years old, 6 years old. So his kids just started going to school, started playing football. His kid's a Chelsea fan, so he's had to kind of reacquaint with the sport. And he was talking to me about it a few days before. He messaged me, and he created that hypothetical situation where a mistake or an error was made by a black player, and what it would lead to, and it played out right in front of our eyes. And straight away, he's checking up on me, because his family story is it's not as checkered, but his heritage is Indian, but they are from the east coast of Africa. So like you had like a lot of persecution that went on of diasporan Indians that arrived on the coast of Africa, and that's how his parents ended up in the UK. They ended up fleeing persecution in East Africa. So he's very attuned and acclimatized, and has that high sensitivity to racism as well. And he said that's one of the reasons he fell out of his love with the sport. And it's just, I can't even begin to put into words like how bad it is. Your own partner is in your house avoiding you because they know that there is nothing that they can say or do to dispel like how much rage is inside you because of what you're seeing and what you're continuing to see. Like it's not changing, The story I told about my dad and John Barnes, we got 3 more John Barneses now, and think how many more the incidences there have been with players in between. Danny Alves, when he had to pick the banana up and when he was taking the corner, did the same thing nearly 2 decades later. I don't know when it's going to stop.
The thing is, it's like I said, it comes down to how people are brought up. I've told stories before about things I've experienced, and I'm not going to go into that, but I wanted to sort of just go back very quickly to Sunday night and how I was brought up in terms of colour. People say, I don't see colour. Anybody that says that is lying to you. Of course you see colour. I can sit here and see, Gunnar King, these are a different colour from me. The difference is that I'm not going to sit here and say I can't see it. I'm sitting here saying it doesn't matter to me. I have no issue with it. I said to the guys, and this is a true story, I watched the match. Well, I watched sort of towards middle of the second half to the end on Sunday night. And when I was watching the penalties, Rashford had missed, thought terrible penalty. Sancho had missed. And my first thought, rather than it's black players missing, was Harry Maguire will be taking the penalties at United next season. That's what my mind went to, was that Harry Maguire took the best of the United penalties. Nothing to do with the colour of the skin of the players who were hitting them.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's because I was brought up to not, as I say, it's not ignore colour, but to understand that it doesn't matter what colour someone's skin is. We're all the same people. We all get buried 6 foot under the ground.
Yeah.
So, we're all the same when we're dead.
Yeah.
So, anyway, listen, guys, I'm going to jump back out again and let you finish up here.
No problem.
I will talk to you in a few minutes.
No problem. See you soon, Stephen. Appreciate you coming on. Right. So, do you want to stay on, or should I get? There he is. He's gone. Right. So, it's crazy, and that's why I was saying to you guys, particularly to you, Charlie, because I know Keith's no longer with us because of internet issues. I was saying to Charlie before the show that we do have a structure to our shows, but they just happen. And even when we kind of started the show, I was contemplating whether or not I felt comfortable having this kind of open conversation. But I'm glad we have, because I tell you that there have been different moments in tonight's show where it's been really difficult to even listen to what you've said, Gunnar King, what Stephen came on and said, because everything Stephen has said over the last couple of days is absolutely true. And it has been a real struggle. But what we're going to do? We're going to shed some light, on what has been, a very transparent at times difficult but necessary conversation to have. And we're going to take it back to some football. I'm very aware we've been on online for an hour and 20 minutes, and we still do have some rumours for Stephen to jump back on and go through. So I am going to keep this one pretty snappy with you guys. Now, you're probably not going to be able to see this, so I'm going to make it a little bit bigger for you. Now, what I've got here is the team of the tournament. I've got, well, don't even want to say his name now after the result, but Rumour in goal. We've got Spinazzola. We've got Walker, Bonucci, Maguire in a back four. We have Jorginho. I don't even know how you pronounce that Spurs player's name. Is it Højbjerg?
Højbjerg, yeah.
Pedri. And then we've got Chiesa, Sterling, and Lukaku. Now, we were going to go into quite a bit of depth with regards to this team and so forth, but obviously, because of the emotions and the way the conversation went, we don't have a long time to go through it all. But looking at these players, I'm just going to come to each of you singly. You can sum it up in a name. You can sum it up in a couple of sentences. It doesn't even have to be one player that's on this team sheet. It can be a player that's separate from this team sheet. But if you can give me your player of the tournament and reasons why, and I'm going to start with you first, Charlie.
Are we talking on England or like the whole tournament altogether?
The whole tournament. The whole tournament.
Oh, I'm going to go Spinazzola. I think he's been massive for the Italians this tournament. Like, a lot of their goals, especially through the early part of the tournament, were coming through Spinazzola. Yeah. And you could see when he got injured, the difference it made to that half of the pitch for them. So for me, Spinazzola.
Okay, no problem. I think Lottie's having some issues with regards to her internet. She's gone off the screen. Gunner King, Lottie's back. Welcome back. For you, Gunner King, who would it be in terms of your player of the tournament and why?
I hate to say it because he plays for those West Londoners, but I have to say Jorginho. I have to actually give him his dues. Like, I think he's quite a misunderstood player as well.
Yeah.
He is reliant on the system, and the system has definitely benefits him. I think there was one game where he made 71 passes, and out of those passes, only one of them was misplaced. He completed 70 passes out of 71 total passes. It's nuts. Like, the guy was winning tackles as well, intercepting a lot in key areas, and dictating the tempo of all of these games. So as much as I hate to say it, because he plays for Chelsea, I think that's my player of the tournament.
Cheers, and I appreciate that. Some two fantastic players there in terms of this tournament. I have to say that with Jorginho, I'm not his biggest fan, but I can't argue with his performances for Italy. And Spinazzola, right up until he had that injury. Without wishing any badness on anybody, put it this way: when England drew Italy in the final, I definitely didn't miss him because he's had an exceptional tournament. And for you, Lottie, who would be your player of the tournament and why? I think you're on mute. Are you on mute?
Muted. I can't hear her. Yeah, I can't hear her.
I can't hear you. I can hear you now, I think.
Oh.
I'm curious now.
Yeah, I know she's left us.
She's having a man.
Who is it? Well, you know what? I will go with mine. See if we can get Lottie back. I think it's a tough one with regards, player of the tournament. There've been so many kind of exceptional performances, but I think if I had to pick one out of all the players, it would be a player who is on the team of the tournament, and it would have to be Sterling for me. And the only reason why I would say Sterling is because I'm looking at a player in terms of the impact they had on the earlier stages of the competition. I feel like England grew into the competition as the competition progressed, but within the kind of group stages and like the first kind of 16, I feel as though if you take away Sterling's contributions, I just can't really see how England would have got very far. So in terms of impact on a team, I think Sterling for me was a real kind of standout player, and he would be my choice. I'm not sure if we're going to get Lottie back in time for her player of the tournament and so forth. But you know what? It's been a real pleasure having you two on the show tonight, Charlie. The only reason why I'm saying this is because I'm going to jump off now for the second half Rumour Mill, and I know Stephen's gonna join you guys and go through some transfers. But yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. Gunner King, this is the first time you being on Callan Chatter TV, and also Charlie, your first time as well. Really appreciate kind of hearing your views, your stories, your opinions on all things football and so forth. But you know what, just before I go, I want to leave you with this image, and the reason why I want to leave you with this image is because you can look at this image and you can say to yourself, it's an image of real sadness. And, it can remind you of the defeat and so forth in terms of England losing to Italy. But for me, this is a real image. It's an image of hope for me in terms of football. You've got a man here who, let's just say it, the fan base were not, the English fan base were not absolutely thrilled in terms of him going into the tournament. He led the team to, the final, and given the final, he had his own demons. 25 years ago, he missed a penalty for England, and he wasn't racially abused, but boy, he was abused. I don't think social media was as powerful as it was then, but he really, really had an onslaught of abuse, his way and his family's way, and that image of seeing Southgate and Saka, hug, cuddle, whatever you want to call it, just seeing Southgate console Saka at that moment, for me, I have to say was, for me, regardless of it not being a goal, regardless of it not being a celebration, for me, for personal reasons, it definitely was my moment of the tournament.
I think overall, when you come out of it on the other side, like you feel proud.
Yeah, 100%.
These three represented more than my country.
Yeah,
they represent my daily struggle with.
Yeah.
I didn't feel alone. Obviously, the shock and the aftermath of it is bad. But then you see images like that, and you realise that that there's other people and that there is hope, as you're saying.
Yeah, definitely. And that's what I kind of wanted to switch on. So what we're going to do now, guys, is we're going to take a short break. Stephen will be joining us. I will say my good evenings. I'm not going to be joining you for the Rumour Mill episode 8, but get stuck into the transfer rumours. Have a good evening, and I'll see you. I'm not sure when I'll see you, but I'll see you real soon. But enjoy the rest of the show, guys. Thank you guys for coming on. Take care. Cheers. I think it's working. My internet's really slow. I don't know what's going on. There we are. Not the smoothest transition because my internet is lagging, but never mind.
I think you're still live, by the way.
Yeah, it's still live.
Yeah, we're still live.
Yeah, we're still live. But yeah, I'm going to say good evening, guys. Yeah. I'm going to say good evening. Take care.
Just before you go,
Cheers.
Just before you go, I know Lollie's not on, but I just want to say well done to you two. I know it was sort of a last minute decision to do the whole 3 Lions thing at the start of the Euros. But you know what? They've been great shows and people have really got involved in them. So to you guys, well done. Congratulations. I'm glad you did it. I'm sorry you didn't get the result you wanted. I know I wound you up a lot during the tournament.
Yeah.
But it was all a bit of banter. I'm sorry you didn't get the result you wanted. Oh, Lollie's back.
Yeah, I've got a fair share of
I appreciate that, Stephen. I appreciate that. But listen, I'm going to leave you guys to it, man. Have a good rest of the show. Take it easy.
No worries.
See you later.
All right, guys. Charlie, Gunnar King, lovely to meet you. Thanks for being with us, and
thanks for having me on.
I'm going to keep this a bit shorter. Normally, we would take a wee bit of time doing these, but I'm kind of conscious you've been on quite a while, and obviously your Three Lions show ran on. But we want to cover off a few of the sort of latest rumours from the last week and a half now. Fortunately, there hasn't been that many. It all seems to have slowed down a lot. And to sort of lift the mood a wee bit after that last sort of 20 minutes of the Three Lions show, I want to give you a bit of a laugh. And I don't know if you've seen this today. Tottenham have had a bid accepted, rumoured, for this guy, Joey from Benidorm, as I call him.
Julius Conde, yeah.
Yeah, for Conde. Now, this is funny because they've apparently had the bid accepted, and he's turned around and flat out said no. He has no interest in
doesn't even want to negotiate with them.
Yeah. The funny thing is, though, I was reading before I actually came on air that Arsenal are now linked with him again, because it looks potentially the Ben White deal might be falling through. It looks like they just can't agree a fee for him. Brighton are being stubborn. They want 50 million plus add-ons, and it looks like they're looking for a sell-on clause as well. And it may not happen now. So it looks like Arsenal are potentially looking at other targets again. So we'll see what happens with that one. So the few rumours that we do have, we'll kind of keep short and sweet. Lottie, you don't need to do an awful lot of talking because a lot of these will have been through before, so we'll already know your opinion. Charlie, I'm going to come to you first.
Sorry, Stephen, I'm still voting to tear up Guendouzi's passport and keep him there. That's my opinion on that one, if that's coming up.
Well, funny you should say that. Charlie, I'm going to come to you first. Obviously, it's confirmed that Guendouzi's gone to Marseille on a loan with an obligation to buy, provided certain things are hit that are fairly achievable. We now know that it looks like Saliba's going to join them. He's over there for his medical and should be signing a deal for a 1-year loan with there's no obligations, it's a straight loan. How do you feel about these two going to Marseille?
The Saliba one is a bit of a strange one because when we first bought him, I originally thought, so this guy is going to maybe play a bit of a part-time role in the first team to start with, and then he got no minutes at all, so I thought it was a bit strange. Then obviously he went back on loan to Saint Etienne, and now he's going on loan again. So is it a case of Arteta doesn't fancy him, and that's why we're getting another centre-back? Or is it a case of he doesn't think he's quite ready for the Premier League yet and he wants to get him some first-team minutes elsewhere? Personally, if that's the case, I'd rather him go on loan to another Premier League team where he can actually get used to the Premier League. The Guendouzi one, I can't lie. After the whole Brighton thing, I was happy to see that he's going because I think he's got the qualities to be a good player, but he sort of reminds me a bit of like Roy Keane, where he just throws his toys out of his pram all the time. But he does it. He tries to be aggressive and cool, but he doesn't do it at the right moments. Like, imagine saying to Mopé that you're on more money than him when actually you're not. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think the Saliba one, I'm a bit 50-50 with, because obviously I'd like to see him play for Arsenal, but clearly Arteta doesn't think he's ready yet. So maybe that could be a good move for him, but I'd rather have him loaned to another Premier League team. The Guendouzi one, yeah, I'm very happy with that. I hope he gets sold permanently.
Okay. Gunnar King?
Yeah, I mean, I feel pretty similar about Guendouzi. I think he's a great talent, but I think it wasn't just that incident. There were numerous incidents, like of bust-ups with managers. He then went on loan at Hertha, was causing all kinds of trouble for their managers, fighting with players on the pitch. I'm just done. I'm just bored of hearing stories about him. People using his sale as a means of building even bigger agenda against Arteta. Oh, he can't manage young players. Remind me who our best young players were last season. Saka, Smith Rowe, Martinelli and Tierney. Oh, but he can't manage young players because he's selling Guendouzi, because his attitude shit. Yeah, how does that work? No, it doesn't, you know, like, so, yeah, like, I'm just glad that he's just, I've got nothing against him as a person, you know, like, but clearly he had some things that he has to work out. And, you know, who knows? He'll probably do that at another club. He'll take stock of what happened with Arsenal. He'll move on. With Saliba, I kind of get what Charlie's saying, but statistically, if he stayed and played for a Premier League club, the odds of him getting game time weren't in his favour. Basically, of players that are his age or younger, so he's 20 years old, only 10 played more than 500 minutes in the Premier League last season. So yeah, if you consider that's 4.5 games. Only 10 players that were 20 years or younger got that much game time. And then if you look at it from 1,000 minutes, it was only 5 players. So a centre back statistically isn't going to play when they're younger because they peak when they're older. He's got loads of mistakes to make, which he's going to make. And I would rather he was guaranteed first team minutes than we just say, oh, it has to be a Premier League club. He gets loaned to a Premier League club. He makes 1 or 2 mistakes and then they bench him for the whole of the season. So,
what do you think? I've always said I think he should have been sent to a Championship club. What do you think of that? Would you think he'd get the minutes?
I think, yeah, he might get the minutes there, but I think the important thing to remember as well is whilst Marseille isn't like an English team, they're also playing in Europe. So they got Europa League games as well as the French League games. So when you put those together, that's a lot of games that he can be playing. And like, yeah, he could play in the Championship and get used to English football, but playing in the top French division and in the Europa League is a higher standard of football, if you see what I mean. And it would be a higher standard than playing at Newcastle or Southampton, because, you know, he's just, but I mean, obviously they're not in Europe and they're much smaller clubs. So I think it could still mean that Arteta doesn't fancy him, but if you look at it on face value of developing his game, it's not the worst move in the world, and I don't think it's as bad that as people are making it out to be, that he's not staying in England.
Yeah, I think just to sort of go back to what you were saying there about the sort of Arteta out people using it as part of their agenda against him, with Guendouzi, and you're seeing that as well with Saliba. You know, they're all, oh, you know, Arteta's got to go. He doesn't trust Saliba. I said it before, and I'll say it again, and it's true for Saliba as well. People were saying about Guendouzi was a £50 million player, and you know, Arteta's destroyed his value. You know, he sent him out on loan, and his values tanked and all this sort of stuff. And I said at the time, well, Willock went out on loan and his value's gone up. So does that not say something about the player? The other thing with it as well is, if you look at the caliber of clubs that have come in for these 2 players, you know, it's not the Real Madrids and Barcelonas and Bayern Munichs or PSGs that are coming in and asking to borrow these players. You know, it's Hertha Berlin, Marseille, Nice. You know, these are the clubs they're being linked with. And even if you look at the Premier League, you know, it's not top half of the Premier League teams that are looking at them. It's Southampton and Newcastle, teams that are going to be, okay, Southampton had a decent season last season, but in the whole, you kind of expect Southampton to be in the relegation mix every year. Same with Newcastle, you expect them to be in the relegation mix every year. And do you really want Saliba learning his trade in the Premier League by getting hammered every week?
No.
You know, so it's...
And also what we're seeing with our fan base at the moment, like, and our media, it's incredibly toxic an environment for a young player to be making mistakes in.
No, definitely.
You know,
I'm with you on that 100%, King. Sorry to butt in, but
that's all right.
I watched the pre-season friendly. I don't know if you guys did, but within the first 45 minutes, Arsenal were back. I saw in my timeline ins and outs arguing over Arteta
Yeah.
playing. It's a pre-season friendly.
That's it.
I don't understand the logic. It's just madness.
I also
Yeah.
saw a lot of
It took
shambolic
45 minutes of
defending as well.
pre-season. 45 minutes. It's just
And I
unbelievable.
think
After 4 days training.
that's what I would worry about for a young defender learning their trade in the English game at the moment. It's not forgiving. And
It's not.
you know, and you need your confidence as a centre back, because the reality is you're gonna make mistakes. It's not like the thing about defending, right, is you can be an attacking player and make a mistake. There's someone behind you, but also that means you play more when you're younger and your game develops. There's a lot of things you can learn on the training ground. Defenders, there's only so much they can learn on the training pitch. Some of the rest of it, they've got to like learn.
They've got to be in that situation and learn from it.
Yeah,
fast.
in match
Completely with you.
situations. Yeah, so it's just make or break it.
So just to move it on, because obviously I do want to kind of keep this a wee bit shorter tonight than we normally do. I'm just going to sum up sort of quickly a couple of other things. I had obviously pictures and stuff lined up and the potential going into conversation on these, but we don't really need to. To give anybody that's not aware of the sort of rumours, it looks Bellerin has apparently approached the board and asked for transfer to Inter Milan. Milan don't want to buy him; they want to loan him with no obligation, but maybe an option. Arsenal aren't keen on that, so they're negotiating and see what they can do. So that's Bellerin. The other one, Xhaka, apparently should be wrapped up in the next 24 to 48 hours. However, again, it's Roma playing hardball. They don't want to pay what Arsenal want.
Bye.
Yeah, I think.
Bye. Don't come back.
Unfortunately, Xhaka,
Roma
can only afford one packet of Monster Munch. They can't afford the second packet that it's going to take to get them.
Oh, so I'm not getting a Twix out of it, Stephen. Oh,
Curly Whirly.
Helen's Curly Whirly. I'm not getting a Curly Whirly out of it. Are you serious?
Mate, I want a Yorkie.
The last one then, the sort of I'd seen links with was a man who looked like he spent the summer at Burger King, which is William.
Oh my god! How are we going to sell him? Does anybody seen the picture of him in that game?
No one will pay his wages
that
anyway.
That man has got a pot belly. How are we supposed to sell him?
No one will pay his wages anyway. We're pretty much screwed.
Oh, I know. Please don't. I believe our wonderful friend Antonio's in the chat. Mate, you might need to get that flight over and drive him to the airport and get him back to Florida.
He was.
Mate, I'll happily drive him back to Stamford Bridge.
Rumored to be potentially going to Inter Miami, but that's now broken down. I did hear a rumor this week of Madrid being interested in him. Because apparently Perez thinks he would suit the
Mate, what are they seeing?
Yeah, I don't see that one myself. And actually, Madrid.
He's 1 in 30 last season. What are they watching? Have they been to Specsavers?
Yeah, what are they seeing? The geezer can hardly run up and down the touchline.
Do you know what? I want whatever they're on.
Two of them.
Yeah, I need some of that still.
It's been a nice.
The geezer can hardly run up and down the touchline. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's been announced today that Madrid have got to cut their wage bill by 150 million. So actually, potentially they could have some players up for sale, which is why they're, potentially Varane, it could be going. It also opens up the opportunity for Odegaard to potentially be available again. So that's another thing to keep an eye out for.
I like Odegaard.
So that is kind of rounds up the outgoings potentially at the minute. Willock, actually, sorry, that was another one. Willock potentially back to Newcastle. I think that's all of them that I've heard. If anybody else has heard anything, let me know.
What do you guys think about Smith Rowe and Arteta's comments? And what number do we think he's going to get? Yeah,
give him the 10.
No, it's gonna. Yeah. I think I'm gonna have to. Me and Georgina were talking about this the other day. I think it's gonna either be 8 or 18. I mean, I kind of did a bit of detective work. He was covering his number up, but he had his number on his sliders. You zoom in, that looks like an 18 or a 10. But
give him the 10. If you're going to give him a new contract and you're going to promise him he's going to be part of your plans, give him the 10. And then if we end up getting another attacking midfielder in, they can have whatever number they want, except it's not going to be 10. Simple as that.
The thing is, the rumour the rumour is about Maddison wanting that shirt. So we'll see.
But the thing is, though,
Madison
I'm hearing a lot about
gone training pre-season with Leicester. So where is
I'm hearing a lot about Maddison, but I don't know how true that is.
Yeah, but he's not pre-season training. So where is he? That's what I want to know. Could he be in London somewhere? Fingers crossed.
Well, possibly.
I've heard a lot about Hossein Alwa hotting up again, and he's going to be worth only 20 mil now, where he was like 55 last summer. And he's
we're going to come on to him in a wee second, Charlie. So we'll talk about him in a wee sec. But I want to talk about this guy first. From PSG, this is Thilo Kerrer, I think he's called. A German centre back, also plays at right back. 24 years old, 9 caps for Germany. Any of you guys know anything about him? Gunnar King, I'll come to you first. Is this a player you're familiar with?
Not a great deal, if I'm being honest. Yeah, no. He's not someone that was playing heavily, mostly at right back. They're mostly playing Marquinhos as a centre back. They've been playing Kimpembe, as a right back. I'm not sure, but
yeah, he made I think it was 14 appearances at centre back and 5 towards the end of the season at right back under Pochettino. But obviously with them bringing in Ramos and there was somebody else they brought in Hakimi
as well.
He kind of looks like he's going to be surplus to requirements.
I think
not that much game time.
If he can play in both positions, then as a utility player, he might be useful. But I'd need to watch him and scout him a bit more closely first.
Okay.
I can't really speak to him about him beyond that, to be honest.
No, that's fair, because do you know what? We're always very honest in this show, and if we've not seen a player, we don't know him. We just say it. Because I always say, you can watch as many YouTube clips as you want, but YouTube makes Nicholas Bentner look like a world beater. So, Lottie, know anything about him?
Not one thing, I'm afraid. I did sort of have a look at his stats, but I've lost all my notes on my laptop, so I do apologise, everybody.
That's right.
Lottie the scout.
At this point, I know you say he was 20, right, Stephen?
24, I think he is 23, 24.
Okay, at this point, I'm willing to look to Harry Clark at the moment. He was phenomenal at Oldham, and I really enjoyed watching him, and I'm looking forward to him playing. I mean, we got a glimpse at him for the pre-season game, but I don't see why we don't give him some game time. I know he's only 20, but you never know.
Okay. Charlie, do you know anything about this guy, Thilo Keeler or Keeher?
Like you guys said, other than seeing him play as virtually a makeshift right back and maybe using him a couple of times on FIFA, no, not really.
All right. Well, listen, we'll leave it there. We'll move on. And someone you were just mentioning, Charlie, so we'll let you go first on this one. This is anybody that watches this channel regularly will know that G has a bit of a man crush on Jack Grealish. I have to say, I have a little bit of a man crush on Houssem Aouar. And for me, if we got any player, this is the guy I'd want. So, Charlie, what's your opinions?
I agree with you on that one, because I have actually seen a lot of this guy playing in Ligue 1 with Lyon. He's the kind of player, he sort of reminds me a little bit of Smith Rowe, because he does a lot of running as well. He does a lot of the hard grafts that doesn't always get noticed. I know the French league is obviously a lot slower and easier than the Premier League, but he scores a few goals, and that Lyon team is not the force it once was. I know they're trying to rebuild their team, and they obviously, Lyon are one of the teams that produce a lot of good young players. But I think, and Beans is worth, I think it's only like 20 million now because they didn't qualify for the Champions League. So I think it would be a good shout for Arsenal to maybe put something in, and then you'll have Alwar and Smith Rowe that could both play that position. We've got 2 quality players then.
Yeah, absolutely. Lottie, I'll come to you next. Awesome,
No, I still, again, he's a YouTube job for me. As I've said before, I'm not too sure how he'd fit in, but we need another possible number 10 in that space. We can't rely on Smith Rowe all season long. As we've seen, he gets injured, and then what do we do? So it's definitely an option. Aubameyang and Lacazette can't play together. Let's not start that conversation.
Just chuck Lacazette in the 10 like he did for the last couple of games.
Oh, God.
Gunnar King, you seem to be up on the move. What's your opinions on Houssem Aouar? Is he someone you'd like to see at Arsenal?
He's someone I would absolutely love to see at Arsenal for a number of reasons. I think his technical ability is very good. He's someone that can carry the ball out of a press or pass the ball out. He can shoot as well. Fairly two-footed. He can play as an advanced 8. He can play as a 10. I've even seen him play wide on the left and cut inside as well onto his stronger foot. So he gives you fluidity as well. And the fact that he's available for so cheap is very circumstantial. It's a result of him not wanting to stay, but also the fact that Lyon haven't qualified for the Champions League and the French league is financially under strain at the moment. So even if it doesn't work out, he should hold his value. We could even make money on moving him on, but I think he's got all of the attributes to be very good for our team.
Absolutely. I mean, at this point, my kind of feelings is that if Edu and Garlic can't get this one done, for that sort of money, the 2 of them need to go. I don't care if Garlic's only come in, the 2 of them would need to go straight away. A couple of quick comments there. Antonio hoping for Ben White, to be honest. I'm not sure if you maybe missed the comments at the very start. I was saying that I was reading before we came on air there that potentially the Ben White deal could be breaking down because Brighton are just playing hardball and looking for silly money and looking for a deal that isn't really reasonable for the player. And you've got a man crush on Saka. It's all good. Fair enough. Okay, we'll move on quickly to the next one. And this one is someone that, I'm going to be honest, if you'd have said to me 5 years ago we could get him, I'd have been happy. But now it's kind of a no from me. And that's Miralem Pjanic from Barcelona. Rumours that we could be looking at him on loan. Obviously, Barcelona need to clear a lot of players out to fund Messi's contract, although Messi has agreed a new deal. It's a 5-year deal at half his wages, but they still need to reduce their wage bill, so they're looking to shift out a lot of players. Gunnar King, I'll come to you first on this. Pjanic, someone you would want to see?
I like Pjanic, but no, I don't want us to see. I want us to go back to the ethos of old, where we're signing the best up-and-coming young players. We're not offering retirement homes to players from bigger clubs. Well, Barcelona are a bigger club, but players from big clubs or other big clubs that are just looking for somewhere comfortable, a team that they think that they can walk into. We do need some leadership. I think that our squad does lack leadership, but I just think we can do better than Pjanic where he is. I kind of want to see us going back to young, good, up-and-coming players. I think our midfield needs athleticism more than it needs technicians. We've got enough technicians. And he's kind of a centre midfielder. Whilst he does play box to box, he's not relying on his athleticism. It's more his technique and his vision and his guile, his passing. And I just think we've got enough of that. But I don't know. he might. I think he could work well in the Premier League, but yeah, no, I just want us to just go back to what we were doing, which was signing good young talent.
Fair enough. Before I come to you on that one, Charlie, there's just a quick comment here I want to go to. Hail and Arsenal. Jim, how are you? Excellent show, you guys. Keep good content coming. I just want to take a moment to say thank you to Jim. Jim, you've obviously seen the video we did for Saka. There's collaboration between Jim's channel, Hail and Arsenal, and ourselves. Jim has to take so much credit for this. I just helped him develop the idea, and it's been phenomenal. Anybody watching now live or anybody watching later, obviously once you've subscribed to our channel, make sure you head over to Hail and Arsenal and subscribe to Jim's channel as well. He hasn't got much on there yet because it's a new channel, but I know he's got a lot of good stuff coming, and I know we're looking forward to working with him again, over the next few while as well. So that said, Charlie, Panjic, someone you would want to see in an Arsenal shirt?
I kind of agree with both of you, and I would say no. I think, yes, it would be too late. I think his best years were when he was at Juventus, and then when he first moved to Barcelona in that swap deal with Arthur. I agree with Gunnar King. I think he's more of a technical player, and I like what we seem to be doing in the transfer market at the moment, and that's going for like the younger players, like that Anderlecht midfielder Lokonga, who's a midfielder that we're apparently close to signing. I don't personally think that he would fit into our team either, Pjanic, just on the basis that we've, like Gunnar King said, we've already got a lot of technical players. So it'll be a no from me.
Okay. Lottie?
Not a retirement home. No, thank you. We need run, as you've all said, we need more runners than we do technical players. And that just sums it up at the moment, because we've got that, but we need someone that's going to put the graft in.
Fair enough. All right, well, we'll move on to the last one. This is someone that obviously we've seen quite a bit through the whole tournament, because his team ended up going on and winning the Euros, and that is Locatelli. So, if rumours are to be believed, we have put in the biggest bid for him. He does want to go to Juventus, but Juventus are struggling to come up with the money, and Sassuolo, or whatever the name of the club is that he plays for, are basically saying, match the bid, Juventus, and you can have him. If you don't match the bid, we'll sell him to Arsenal. And I think,
Oh
dear.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
Oh, we lost Lottie as well.
Oh no.
Hello? You there, Charlie?
Yeah, I'm still here. I fully think I'm the only one who didn't get kicked.
Yeah. Don't know what happened there.
Everyone else has been kicked. Oh, here we go.
Sorry, guys, I'm back.
Lottie's back in.
Again for the third or fourth time. Now I'm not lagging. It just completely cut off.
It's weird because I'm the only one who didn't get kicked.
It kicked out at my end as well. My apologies. I don't know what's happened there.
No, I think it did that to me earlier, Stephen. That's why I kept disappearing. I switched over to my phone.
Yeah. I think, to be honest, I have seen a couple of people complaining about StreamYard over the last few days, saying there has been issues with it. So I'm hoping that's a StreamYard issue and not a my internet. Yeah.
In Stephen's internet we trust.
It's not. It's definitely.
Not sure I paid the bill this month.
I said my internet was down as well. I was like, what the?
Okay. So,
I think you lot have got some major lag switch going on.
Yeah. Locatelli. Charlie, Locatelli, you've obviously seen quite a bit of him now through the Euros. Is he someone you would love to see in an Arsenal shirt, or is he another one that maybe he's not quite the right fit?
I must admit, I didn't know anything about this geezer before the Euros, but now that I've watched him play, he looks the real deal, doesn't he? Like, he's been scoring goals, he's been making things happen for Italy. I know Italy didn't technically have a hard group, or their start of the tournament wasn't particularly difficult, but he was making a lot of things happen for them. And again, it's another midfielder though, isn't it? And it's another technical midfielder. But difference with Pjanic is Locatelli's a lot younger, and I think he'll only get better. But like you said, I think he wants to go to Juventus, so it's a case of we'd be second choice anyway, and I don't necessarily want a player that. So Arsenal Football Club should be second choice. So I don't know. It's I'd say it's a 50-50 because, like I said, I think he'd pick Juventus because he clearly wants to go to Juventus, so we'd only be his second choice. But I think he would be exciting.
All right. Lolly, you spoke on him before, so I'm going to let Gunnar King have the sort of word on him, and we'll move on to one more thing after that.
Locatelli, I'd absolutely love at Arsenal. I've watched him at Swansea as well, and yeah, I've had my eye on him for a while before the tournament, and yeah, he is technical, but the difference is he does have like more about him physically as well. He's not like the fastest over 5 or 10 yards, but once he gets into his stride, he's not slow, and he can run at players as well. That's the thing. Like he's very, yeah. He can dribble with the ball. He can shoot. He can pass. He can play like he's played as a 6, and he's played as an 8, and he's played as a 10 as well. He's played in all 3 positions, which is quite unique because yeah, he's very good at intercepting the ball, very good at tackling. I mean, he's a complete midfielder. Bar like his pace over 5 or 10 yards. So yeah, I would like to sign him, but I think like Charlie's saying, I don't want Arsenal to be, like the second option. I don't want us to be, the side order to what your main meal is. And it seems to me he wants to go Juventus. He favours a move there, but they can't afford him. So I think I've been hearing that Edu's going to try and speak to him and convince him to come to Arsenal. But I don't want players coming that need to be convinced to come to Arsenal.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Not be
Completely agree
with you.
I appreciate, given the situation we're in, we are going to have to convince some people. But I just think that's like a bit too much convincing.
Definitely.
Is he going to be in? Is he going to be in it for the long haul if he comes here, or is he going to be having his eye on his next move? That would be the question that would beg. But in terms of his quality as a footballer and his like positions, I like that. Yeah, everything about him I like as a player.
Okay, excellent. So last thing then, in terms of sort of transfer rumours, what I did today was I sat and I went through Sky Bet, and I had a look at all their sort of transfer odds on things, and I made a list of all the players that Arsenal are currently favourites to sign. So I have that list.
Well, this is going to be interesting.
Yeah, I have this list here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you each an opportunity to pick 2 players off that list that you would want. And Lottie, I'm going to let you go first, seeing you didn't get to say anything on Locatelli. So this is the players that we are favourites to sign, and their odds.
Might have to make that a bit bigger for me. My phone screen's a bit small.
Let's see.
Sorry, Stephen. Okay, let's have a look.
Oh, interesting.
Zaha's on that list. Oh my god, no! Let's have a look.
Well, we clearly know who her favourite one to sign is.
Definitely not Zaha, that's for sure. He's too old. I'm gonna go for James Maddison and Calvert-Lewin.
Okay.
2 strikers.
We need some aerial presence in that box, if I'm honest.
Interesting.
Because that's too short. Aubameyang hasn't got that for me personally, but yeah, I'm gonna go for Maddison and DCL.
Okay. Gunnar King, pick 2 players.
Definitely Basuma and Maddison. I love Auer as well, and I think we'll probably get Maddison and Auer, if I'm being honest. But the reason why I've gone with Basuma and Maddison is that I think we also need Premier League proven players. The last player that we signed from a Premier League club that was 27 years or younger was Danny Welbeck. That's crazy. you need proven players that are in their prime from this league. I think we've missed that for too long. So those are the guys I would take off that list.
Okay. Charlie?
I also had Bissouma, but I've gone with Alwa over James Maddison. Just purely based on what I said earlier about having watched him play a lot in the French league. And don't get me wrong, I think James Maddison's class as well. So I'd take either one of them, but personally I prefer Alwa, but definitely Bissouma. I think a partnership of Partey and Bissouma and then Lokonga as backup or whoever plays in that pivot, that would be really good for us. I think we'd have a mixture of like athleticism and technical ability in that midfield then. We won't be getting overrun so easily like we have the last couple of years.
Charlie, what happens when AFCON comes?
What's that?
What happens when AFCON turns up? Bissouma and Partey go.
Well, I think
you're left with Lokonga.
Well, I think to an extent, we're sort of screwed there already because Pepe, Aubameyang, and all that are going to that as well.
Yeah, but
so
yeah, Pepe's gone.
Aubameyang's going, so we're losing a lot of our main first team players.
But the midfield is our main concern at the moment. Sorry,
listen, guys, let's flip this round. So, Lottie, I'll let you go first again. 2 players on that list that you don't want anywhere near the club.
I don't want anyone in the club. Sorry, my headphones are lagging.
Yeah, 2 players. No, all right. Gunnar King, 2 players that you don't want anywhere near the club off that list.
Definitely Aaron Ramsdale, I would say. Not because I don't think he's a good player. The prices I've been hearing touted for him just because he's English are ridiculous. 25 million. He barely got any experience at top level, so I just don't see where that is coming from. And I don't think we need to replace a goalkeeper as much as we do to need to replace midfielders. So yeah, I don't see that one. The other one I would probably say would be it's difficult because all the others are actually pretty good. I mean, I agree with you, Lottie. I think we do need more aerial presence up front, but I think Calvert-Lewin, I think we would pay. I think any club that's buying him now is paying over the odds for him. Ridiculous.
That's the curse of the English tax.
Yeah, it would be like, I bet that would be like 80, 90 million for a guy that's had one good season in the Premier League. So, yeah, I'm going to go with him. Not because I don't rate him. I just don't think the value for money would be there in that transfer.
Okay, Charlie, 2 players you don't want to sign off that list?
Right, so I obviously definitely had Aaron Ramsdale as well. I don't want him anywhere near the club. Like, enough said about that one. And I don't know about the second one because I think they'd all make a difference in their own way, but the second one's a toss-up between 2 players, but I think I agree with Lottie on Zaha. I don't think I agree with Lottie. I think he's too old. I don't think he's the thing is though, he bags goals, but I watch him play and he's so lazy. And we can't afford, if we're gonna like even challenge for the top 4 this year, we can't be having lazy players in the team.
Okay.
So I'll go with Ramsdale and Zaha.
Ramsdale and Zaha. Lottie, 2 players you don't want us to sign.
Well, Charlie's already said my first one. I'm not even going to repeat his name. I'm kidding. It's obviously Zaha. Don't want him anywhere near. If we were going to buy him, we would have won ages ago, as I've said before. And I think I'm going to have to agree. Do you know what? I'm going to go for someone different. I'm going to say Sander Berge.
He was my other player.
Yeah. I just want someone different. So Sander Berge. Don't want him anywhere near the team.
Okay, excellent. All right. Well, that's kind of it. I have nobody else on there, so we have a couple of things we always go through at the end of the show. But anybody who's any last comments or questions, drop them in the chat now. Lottie, do you want to very quickly explain the sub challenge?
Yeah, sure. So guys, by the 13th of August, we're trying to get to 500 subscribers so that we can see my lovely co-host up on the screen, Stephen, bleach his hair blonde. And I'd really love to have another blonde in this team, which will be
that's a rip
fun.
in the chat for you, Stephen.
He's going for the Phil Foden trim, is he?
That's a rip in the chat for you, Stephen.
No idea if he is, King, but
No, I'm not going for the haircut that way, but I will bleach my hair.
Yeah, come on, we need
Let's
to
make it happen.
guys.
Let's make it happen.
Yeah. So make sure you start hitting that subscribe button. Tell your friends, tell your family, get subscribing. We've got till 13th of August. It's just under a month officially today. And I have to see him blonde. Please, come on, guys. You got to do it.
1,000 subs by New Year, and G will get his done.
Yeah.
And 2,000 subs by the start of next season. And Lottie is going to be getting a tattoo. And the way that's going to work is me, Lottie, and G are all going to come up with a design. We're going to put it out there, and we're going to let the public vote on it. And whichever one gets the highest number, Lottie's going to get that tattooed. So let's get the 2,000.
We are considering doing a live stream as well, because one of G's friends, I believe, is that right, Stephen?
Yeah.
Is a tattoo artist. So it's going to be very, very interesting, guys.
Happy days.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Lottie, just very quickly, your other baby.
We've also started a fantasy football league this season. At the moment, I've got 38 legends in my league at the moment. As you can see, you can join us by joining the fantasypremierleague.com via the website, or download the Premier League app. We will be putting the entry code in the description. We will be tweeting it all week, so we're getting as many people to join us. I believe Stephen is trying to sort out some prizes by sort of Christmas, something about around Christmas time and the end of the season. Is that right, Stephen?
Yeah.
So come and join. I believe I'm thinking of closing it off by the 13th of August, so it's fair for everybody. I don't want people joining halfway through the season, because it's not fair on everybody that's already in there. But definitely come and play if you want to come and take on my Not Quite So Diamonds, or simply the Best by Stephen, or G's is it all G's?
All G's 11 or something like it's called.
Yeah, or G's team. He's already challenging people on his Twitter. But seriously, come and join us. I've never played, so this is going to be completely fun. I can't wait.
Great. And quickly run through the socials there for me.
Okay, so if you want to come and find us, you can find us on Facebook at Cannon Chatter. If you want to find us on Instagram, it's Cannon_Chatter. Obviously on Twitter, we've got the main account, which is Cannon Chatter. If you want to follow my co-host, it's SB Cannon Chatter. If you want to go follow G, who's not here with us at the moment, it's at G.TalksArsenal. If you want to follow me, it's Lottie B with _B with 2 I's. And make sure you subscribe and turn those notification buttons on and hit. Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay. So like I say, any last comments or questions, drop them in now. Charlie, thanks so much for being on the show tonight. It's the first time meeting you. I know you did do a wee bit for our video, so thank you for that.
No problem. Thank you for having me on.
If the guys want to follow you and keep in touch with you, how can they do it?
They can find me on my Twitter ranting about Arsenal or some other rubbish at Aventonio.
Brilliant. Thanks again. Gunnar King, again, first time on the show. Thank you very much for coming on, giving up your time. If the guys want to follow you, what can they do?
Yeah, I mean, you can go to my Twitter at Gunnar King. I'm also do quite a lot of stuff on TikTok as well, randomly. But yeah, that's at Gunnar King 14. And yeah, you'll see a link there to my Instagram with links to other things as well, but mostly Twitter and TikTok. Where
King, what channel can they find you on? I know you've guys just started a new channel as well.
Yeah, so I work very closely with FTB Sports. So we've literally just launched the Armory TV through FTB Sports, which is Arsenal dedicated. But FTB is kind of like affiliated or has like other channels for other teams. But yeah, we've just launched the Arsenal dedicated one, so there's going to be plenty of content that we do on there as well throughout next season.
Excellent. Look forward to seeing it. Okay. One last wee thing for me just before we go to the comments. I just want to say we make a point of we do not ask for donations on this show. We are creating some merchandise that some guys have asked for. But we do have a way, if anybody does want to support the show, they can go to www.buymeacoffee.com/Callan Chatter. The only reason I'm mentioning this is we have had a couple of people donate recently, and I just want to say a big thank you for that. You know, and every penny that we get will be saved and go towards improving the channel, and for us to do things in the future. So thank you to those couple of guys that have done that so far. We really appreciate it. So any comments? Let's have a look. We have Liam. Good show, peeps. Thank you. That's kind of it. Anybody, anything they want to say before we go?
Stephen, do you want to mention Saka's video again?
Yeah, obviously we did this, the video for Saka, just a sort of an appreciation video. It's doing great numbers, and that was a collaboration between ourselves and Jim over at Haley and Arsenal. And it's been flying. Obviously, if you haven't seen it, get on, see it, like it, share it. We really hope that Saka gets to see it himself, because at the end of the day, that's the whole point of it. It's great that so many people are seeing it and so many people are sharing it. But unless Saka actually sees it, it's kind of a bit pointless. So we really would love for him to see it.
Yeah.
Anything else from anybody?
I just want to say a big thank you for having me on, guys, as well. It's been a pleasure as always. I have to return the favor with our stuff as well. And yeah, you know, love to keep working with you guys in the future.
Absolutely. Can't wait.
Yeah, I completely echo that.
Beat me to it, Charlie. Sorry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You beat me to it.
Yeah,
No worries.
it's all good.
No, honestly, though, guys, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me on.
Brilliant. Well, listen, on that note, I'm going to say goodnight because it's 2.5 hours or so you've been on here. And I'm sure your backsides are getting sore. So thanks everybody that's watching live. We really love the fact that so many people are regulars now. And if you're watching this back later on or tomorrow or whatever, thank you. Make sure and drop a like on the video, and we will be back on Monday night with a new Rumour Mill show, and potentially back later on next week as well with something else. On that note, good night. God bless. See you again.